So, hi everybody, and welcome to Argos Multilingual's International SEO series. And this week, we're going to be looking at international SEO in Ukraine. And we're very lucky to be joined by Anna Matvienko, who's an SEO specialist from Ukraine. She started her career back in 2018 as a content strategist before moving to an agency role. She was promoted to head of SEO back in 2021, but unfortunately, due to a direct result of the war, she had to change plans and move to a different job. Since 2022, she's been working in-house within the gaming industry and specializes in technical SEO. So welcome, Anna.
Hello everybody. Thank you very much for having me today. Really excited to share my knowledge.
You're welcome, and we can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, indeed.
So I thought we could start off with probably the elephant in the room and kind of just find out what's going on with the war in Ukraine and how has this really affected SEO in Ukraine?
Yeah, thanks for asking because it's a tough question for everyone who stay in Ukraine. It's not to be silent about what happens here. And to tell the truth, despite I and other people try to live their better lives, we were affected by the war, and we feel how it affects our lives every day on daily basics. And just scroll down the news all the time, so it's affect our jobs and our industry too, because we have to concentrate our attention not only on work but on news, to not to be worried about our families and friends. So first of all, let me thank you for bringing this topic. It's really important for me to give a voice for what is happening with our industry here in Ukraine. So if we talk about the main points, I would like to say that in general, since internships experience difficult times, of course, it's really important to prioritize the budget in SEO industry. If we make a one step backward and talk about PPC campaigns, they are almost stopped here in Ukraine because SEO impacted the long-lasting relationships and effect. But for now, PPC, for instance, they almost stopped here in Ukraine. As well as budgets for some long-lasting campaigns such as link building campaigns and some advanced experiments with on-page tactics. They are almost stopped for now for most of niches in Ukraine, because it's really important to prioritize the budget and to save SEO on the level it was before the war. So it is the first point. The second one is, of course, SEO, like every part of economic system, it experienced crisis for now. So it should fit, if somebody want to start SEO campaign in Ukraine, it should fit about crisis-oriented positioning. So everybody should understand that in general this buying possibility of people decreasing for now, so it's better to concentrate on some niche-oriented products which are useful for everybody, not to stop in as a boutique products, because in general budgets are also low in Ukraine for now. And the third really important advice, and also to point, is that marketing have to adapt the changes really quickly, because for example, yesterday Russia they occupied another one territory near to Donetsk, and for now, for instance, for entrepreneurships who trying to do their best and promote their products there, they need to stop doing it and reorganize their bases, as well as many people from bigger city, Kharkov, Kherson, and so forth. So they just need to, if they have offline representations, they need to switch there to find another places where to show their advise the possibilities to do the business there. And also, if they were online and the target market somewhere in temporary occupied territories, it's really important to be as quick as possible and adapt these changes ASAP.
Gosh, that sounds so tough.
Yeah,
So I think real takeaway is basically adapt really quickly and make sure that everything's focused at being crisis orientated rather than boutique,
indeed.
because people's priorities have changed.
Yeah, indeed.
So I thought as well, something that we should probably talk about linguistically as well is kind of the use of Russian in Ukraine, and if the war has kind of made people switch to preferring the Ukrainian language, the Russian language, or what's going on with that at the moment.
Yeah, that is a really interesting question because, in fact, one of the reasons why Russia explained why they invaded Ukraine is because of language. So, in their opinion, people who speak Russian here in Ukraine, they suffer, and you can't just speak Russian here, but it's nonsense and it's myth. And if you see the, I inserted the diagram with percentage of people who spoke Ukrainian Russian, and you see how after the Russian invasion, only after that people decided to switch to Ukrainian. So it's just like the opposite effect. They try to save in some way Russian speaking people, but instead number of people who speak Ukrainian is increased for now. And yeah, it's not true. For instance, I grew up in Russian-speaking city Dnipro, which previously pronounced like Dnipropetrovsk. On my mind, I hear Russian every day since my childhood. But for now, I think 50% of people just switch to Ukrainian just because they want to forget Russian. So yeah, if to tell briefly, it's not true that some kind of discrimination exists in Ukraine, even in Western regions such as Lviv, for instance, which are close to Poland borders. It is historically supposed to be the most, neo-Nazist part of Ukraine where they just shoot you if you speak Russian, but a lot of people who moved from temporary occupied territories, they speak Russian and they understand that they help them and everything goes smoothly. So yeah, it's not true at all.
Wow, so that's a big change for people just switching to Ukrainian as their native language. So again, I think that's something companies need to keep in mind is that if they want to do campaigns in Ukraine, Ukrainian is the language to go for.
Yeah, indeed.
And another quick question on the whole Russian-Ukrainian thing. To non-Slavic language speakers, I think Russian and Ukrainian can seem extremely similar, but how similar really are they?
Yeah, I think from this myth that Russian and Ukraine are almost similar comes from a period of Soviet Union where this myth was promoted so broadly, and Russian language was only acceptable language for learning in schools for so. Ukrainian people understand Russian, but Russian, they don't understand Ukrainian at all. It shows this similarity of languages. For instance, you see the statistic that in general, Ukrainian and Russian has 62% only of lexical similarity. It's just like English and German, for instance. You can't say that they are similar, right? The same thing with Russian and Ukrainian. So because of the education, because a lot of people in their families, in their daily lives use Russian, they know it, but Russian couldn't understand Ukrainian. And in general, Ukraine had more similarity with Belarusian, Polish language and Slovak language, but not with Russian. And you see the example of some words which has the similar meaning, like brother, it's almost the same, or bread, but we have other vowel sound like chleb in Ukrainian and chleb in Russian. But for instance, a lot of words such as Sunday, like the day of the week, it's totally different, and as well as so many words. So yeah, it's just a myth that Ukrainians is similar, almost 90%, 99% with Russian.
It's really interesting because as a Czech speaker myself, for example, the Ukrainian word is basically the same as the Czech word, whereas the Russian word is completely different. Um, so yeah, really interesting that it's not very similar to Russian at all.
Yeah, at all. Yeah. Even just fun fact that I work as a Ukrainian teacher in the past, and I try to explain children why do they need to switch to Ukrainian, and the main reason is, of course, it's my personal opinion, but Ukrainian sounds much more lyric because there are so many rules how to make your sound, more smoothly, more beautifully, to change the consonant. In Russian, there is no such rules. It can be three symbols together, and could be sound a little bit not rude, but not so smoothly. But in Ukraine, everything is concentrated to make your speech sound like a song, like a verse, like a poetry, and that is the reason why I think Ukrainians should switch to this beautiful language.
Oh, I like Ukrainian. To me, like as another Slavic language speaker, it sounds so nice. It just sounds, as you said, very lyrical, very soft, very nice.
That is true. That is true.
So yeah, we've talked about kind of the war and the whole Russian-Ukrainian question. Like when you talk about the market, what's changed recently?
Yes, so first of all, from my point of view, a lot of people pay more attention about from where products or service come from. So for before the war, they didn't pay so much attention, but for now, a lot of people have some even special apps in their phones which detect, you can just scan the product to detect where it was produced, and if it was produced from country which support Russia, or doesn't support or support in some way, and just be silent about Ukraine, even about the situation. A majority of Ukrainians won't use that service or product, so pay attention if you in some way want to start business here. It's really important to show support to Ukrainian products and to Ukrainian situation, to show that you care, because a lot of people switch to more precise analysis on what is your product about and where it comes from. And of course, it's also lead to increase in demand of products which are manufactured in countries and maintain Ukraine. I know that the fun fact that, if I'm not mistaken, in Czech Republic, some small local businesses, for instance, they created pillows with images of Zelensky, and it was bought like in few hours, and make a treasure trove for this little business. Because Ukrainians who are abroad also, they pay attention to the problem, and they try to support those who support us. It's logical. As I said, they use more precise approach in how to use goods. It's not only because of where the product produced, but also they pay attention about the quality, because for now a lot of people, they decide on where to spend money because they don't know where it will be the next salary in the region. But for now, I will say it later in next slides, but just to emphasize enough, this is I think it's a myth that in general Ukraine is a poor country. On my mind, it's not true. We have different kinds of people. For instance, a lot of people work in IT industry, in marketing, and they has normal salaries, European level of salaries, and that is why it's not it's a myth that people can't afford to buy some products. But you need to, if you want to promote services or products in Ukraine, you need to pay attention on how you made your brand sound, what is your brand about, and so so in every channel you can, that you support Ukraine and you want Ukraine to win the war. And the last but not least is that for now it takes longer time to decide whether it worth buying a product, because for instance dollar and the euro courses, they changing all the time, and people just pay attention on what is the price of euro or dollar on the market, and wait for the moment well it may be decrease. So you should wait some time before, if you promote some really expensive products or services. For usually you need to use a lot of channels to make that conversion happen.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting, and I think as well you can see it on channels like LinkedIn, where, for example, people are naming and shaming companies that, for example, are still selling goods in Russia and stuff. So you can see that it's so important to people inside
Yeah.
Ukraine that, the marketing, the company, the country is supporting them.
Yeah, totally right. Yeah, it's really important for Ukraine for now.
And in Europe, we often kind of assume that if it's an ex-CIS country or something, I don't know, Russia is spoken there, that most people use Yandex as the main search engine. In Ukraine, that's not really true, is it?
Yeah, in year 2017, by government, it was forbidden, and those sites were closed, such as Yandex, and also very popular Mail.ru group, because they have a lot of connected products. And I just want to share a little off top, but it's really interesting social experiment on how people adapt to changes before, because I really remember well how it started, and a lot of people protested, such as they saw that it's such kind of limited of their rights to use some products, and yeah, it was like even a lot of strikes. But after a few years, no one can even remember how to use Yandex or Vkontakte, or really popular clone of Facebook Russian product. All Mail.ru, so everybody was there. But after a few months, yeah, our social intelligence come better, and everyone adapt them and adapt to Facebook and Google and so forth. Yeah, so for now it is forbidden to use those services in Ukraine, just blocked. You can of course use VPN, but it's like nonsense, because for now Yandex is full of fake news, because it is controlled by Russian government. So I just don't think it's a reliable source of browsing the webs you Yandex.
Mhm. So basically, if you're doing SEO in Ukraine, it has to be Google, and then for social media marketing, the standard things like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah, as you see, almost 90% of people use Google. Bing is not popular at all, as I know, just the default browser while you switch to Google. So from my opinion, no one uses there. So you just need to concentrate on Google, and it could be easier for people who, from European Union try to promote the services in Ukraine, because yeah, it's almost the same.
At least they don't have to worry about other ranking factors and everything, so makes it
Yeah,
easier.
indeed. I'm an SEO. I was really glad to see that I can ban Yandex services at all. My life
Makes
become
life easier.
easier.
I was going to say it makes my life easier as well to be able to deal with Google in Ukraine as well.
Indeed.
Yeah. So moving on to kind of more in-depth SEO stuff. What other tips do you have to kind of succeed in Ukraine today?
Yeah, I could give some useful tips for starting a website or business in Ukraine. So first of all, if you decide to start business online, you should know that for now there is a special law for protect consumer rights, which is supposed to use Ukrainian language as default language in browser. So yeah, if you operate in Ukraine and have some local representatives there, it should be in Ukrainian. Also, you can add some other languages as well, for sure, but Ukrainian should be default. And yeah, I made a link to this law in English, so it will be easy for everyone to read more precisely, because to tell the truth, I'm not a lawyer to tell some in-depth detail about that, but yeah, for now, just remember that you should have Ukrainian version of the site. As I said, as I already mentioned, but I couldn't emphasize enough that business should support Ukraine as a sovereign country. To show some example of donate some campaigns on how some volunteer examples of work on how you support Ukraine, it's really important for now. Marketing should broadcast the ideas of maintaining Ukrainian economy across all channels, not only about SEO, but also it's really important to also social signals, SMM campaigns, which are oriented on how you deal with situation in Ukraine. Yeah, and it is interesting next point that Ukrainians, they pay a lot of attention to website design. We are spoiled with the good services and good designs. I don't know why, maybe because Ukraine are talented designers, but on my mind, majority of people won't convert if they don't like colors, elements of the site. Everything should be perfect. So it would be a good idea to advise with some local designers, local specialists who could give you some examples on what is considered to be a good design for Ukraine, and it's really important. They're not. I know that Americans, for instance, they get cut to chase conversion. If they like the product, they will do it. Not about Ukrainian at all. They need to everything to be brand oriented, beautiful, user friendly, clickable, useful, and so forth. So you need to pay attention to your design. And services should be fast and high quality. It's also nice thing I like in Ukraine that everything could be done in 1-2 hours. When I order something online, after 5-6 minutes, I already get the confirmation call from support, which everything is arranged, and they send me everything with photos, confirm everything, and done. So I know in some way in Europe and in some American parts, services could be a little bit slower. So in Ukraine, you should adapt and make your business and all those steps of business as fast as possible, because they just return to your business if it would be slow, or switch to your competitor really quickly.
Wow, that's really interesting. I think most people, or lots of people, kind of underestimate the power of beautiful web designs and also the whole fast quality service thing. So it's good to know just how important it is in Ukraine, and that people really do need to make sure that that's happening. And let's take a look now at kind of a little bit of the SEO elements. Could you explain what you've got here to us?
Yeah, sure. Just a quick tips which for someone may seem obvious, but not to forget to that HTML language is better to show that it is Ukrainian, for Ukrainian version, of course. If you use Russian, I forgot to insert an example, but just a brief explanation that it's better not to say RU like language, but also to use region in which you use. So RU you are, it should be for Ukraine if you have Russian version. It's a good practice to use hreflang tags. As I mentioned, it's really important to use X default version from people in Ukraine. As you see, it's a misleading. I see really often the mistake when people use code as UK. Or you are. So Ukrainian language is UK, like United Kingdom, it's easy to remember that way, and Ukrainian language UA. So just remember as it highlighted there, and it's really good practice to test it on online services with hreflang before implemented on the site. And last but not least, but I couldn't emphasize enough, show real support of Ukraine in your design. I inserted a few examples of big e-commerce stores in Ukraine, and the first screens, they all mention that in their designs you see colors of Ukrainian flag, they see information how many, for instance this one in green, they said how many support, how many items they sent, how many money they transfer to Ukrainian army, and so forth. So your first screen should be for now all about your volunteer work on how you support Ukrainian army and Ukraine in general in this war.
Perfect. Well, look, Anna, thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about SEO in Ukraine. Hopefully, maybe we can do another session in a year's time where it's going to be less about crisis-orientated things, and we could talk more about kind of SEO and marketing channels in general. But thank you so much for your insights. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. It was my pleasure to share my knowledge. If you have any question, please find me in LinkedIn, Twitter, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will do my best to show you some practical examples on how to succeed in Ukrainian market, because I'm really excited for everybody to visit Ukraine after, of course, we will build the war and start businesses, because we are really excited to cooperate better with the European Union and all people all over the world. Just come to visit Ukraine.
I'll definitely be there. I have very fond memories of my time in Kiev when I've been there before. So I can't wait to go back.
Great.
Okay,
Hope
thank
hope to
you.
see you there.
Will do.